All right, guys, welcome to the MMA Fight Game Podcast, the Power Slap edition. We are kind of in our alternative studios. We're at my gym out here in Oakfield, New York, but the champ is in the house making his return from injury. John the Machine Davis, 5-1 Power Slap record. He is currently on pace to defend his 185-pound middleweight title October 25th. So Wednesday night, 9 p.m., live and free on Rumble. He takes on in a rematch. How do I pronounce that game? El Perro. I'll go with El Perro Rodriguez in a rematch. If you're a fan of John, if you're a fan of Power Slap, you can find him on YouTube at John the Machine Davis. He's also on Instagram, which is John the Machine Davis. He's very active on that. He posts cool pictures with cool cars at my favorite Las Vegas hotel at the Aria in Las Vegas. He's also sponsored by Boot Life, which I kind of want to talk to you about that because I'm on a kick, that these guys sponsor you and what the fans and of the sport and the fans of everybody, they need to, take care of the sponsors as well, like pay their dues, their sponsors, help them out as well. But John, yeah, big match. I truly appreciate it. How are you?
I'm doing great today. I appreciate you having me on. And Azael is the dog El Perro.
Yeah, I was looking at. I'm like, how do I pronounce that? Then I didn't ask you when we talked prior to coming live, and I was like, shit. I'm like, what's going on? But yeah, so talk to me. Got a massive match. When was the last time that you competed in Power Slap?
It would have been the Power Slap 2 event when I went up to defend my belt against Wesley Drain. Suffered an injury, and it was probably one of the roughest matches so far for him and myself because there was quite a bit of calls, and of course I spent more time convincing the ref and the doctor that I was okay to carry on than I actually did fighting Wesley. So that was probably the biggest venture of that evening, was making it through all of that, because once the doctor comes up there, they can stop it at any point in time, and you never know where the belt's going to go at that point in time. And that one was a 5-round decision that was up to the judges that, him and I both weren't too sure how it was going to go, because it was a toss up, and I was, fortunate enough to come away with the dub, retain my title. And here I am again, getting ready after, some health and repair to come back October 25th against the dog El Perro, Azael himself, in match 2 for him and I.
Yeah, so you got an injury during that bout, right? And
yes, and the first slap I threw, I popped my shoulder out of place and was able to get it back into place. 3 more rounds with the left hand, and I became very frustrated with myself. And then a hold your beer moment is what I like to call it, because there was a fellow in the crowd who he had like a leopard coat on, and he was definitely drunk, but he just kept going, throw the right. And I'm a hillbilly redneck to my core, and no matter if I'm drinking or not, it was one of those moments where that's why I call it a hold my beer moment. He was saying throw the right, the crowd was saying throw the right. They used the clip where I kind of smile because they don't show, but I'm looking at that guy and I was like, what the hell, why not? It's already damaged. If I'm gonna screw it up, I might as well wing it and throw it one more time.
Yeah, so talk to me about that. With that issue, with that injury developing, now with your training, have you started working on throwing both the left and the right just in case this ever happens again?
Absolutely. I was lucky enough that in that match I was able to use my left hand, even though, I would say I was more so distraught because of the pain that I was in, and the fact that I did not know, it could have gone anywhere at that point, like I said, because I didn't know what the doctor was going to say, what the ref was going to say with how things were going. But yeah, I've definitely, zoned in more on using the left hand if I were to ever need it again, because I did have quite a few of the guys tell me afterwards, like, look, man, I know they knew I was upset about it because I didn't, I wish I would have been able to KO him with my left hand. But a lot of guys were like, hey, we couldn't even do that with our left hand if we wanted to land clean shots and be able to keep on battling through. So I've definitely been working on it. The rehabilitation and the physical therapy that I received through, on Power Slap's dime, the stem cell shot that they gave me when I was out there coaching the third event down in Vegas, that, I can only imagine if I hadn't got that, how much longer recovery would have honestly been.
Yeah, I think I saw a clip. I think it might have been on your Instagram, John the Machine Davis, where you were talking to the Slap News boys about that stem cell. Now, was stem cell the best option, or I don't know if you know about this, but plasma replacement therapy, where they take, I think it's your plasma, and they circle it around in a machine and then they inject it. Was stem cell the better option, or because you're working with Dana White, the UFC, they actually have the best of the best, all the great doctors, and they kind of recommend a treatment path for you?
I'm not too sure because they didn't really bring up the alternative that you're talking about, at least to my knowledge. But Dr. D, which a lot of people know down there, he was the one who, once he got my MRIs and stuff, he said basically the only thing that I really was suffering from injury wise was the bone bruising, and then obviously inflammation from the joint having the issues and dealing with all of that. So, I was a fit candidate for them to give me the specific stem cell. I forget, high gel, I believe is what they call it.
Okay.
So that's what they recommended, and again, was on their dime. And then they went above and beyond to get me into that appointment and get they called, because it was basically on me, like it is many of the other athletes. Like, they cover your treatment, but to get to and from, because there was only 3 locations in the United States that I would have been able to go to. Had I not been down there in Vegas, I would have probably wound up in Florida since it's closer to Ohio. But they called as soon as I told them that I wasn't able to make it how I had set up, and they had them open on a day that I don't believe they were open. They got me a ride, which they didn't have to cover, but by contract. So they did all the extra on top of making sure I was well taken care of.
Where was that appointment?
It was down in Vegas, literally not even 15 minutes from the Apex, I believe.
And so you had an appointment. If they weren't available, you weren't able to get there, or was that when you were at Power Slap there? I don't know if I misheard you.
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm just probably making it confusing. I had an appointment set up that I had talked to them, and I was going to get myself there. But once I notified them that I had to cancel the appointment because of my coaching obligations and stuff that contractually I had to be there to do, they instantly got on the horn and got things set up right away before I got out of Vegas that weekend. So they did me a solid for sure.
Oh, I got now I'm following you. That's cool. Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. So there's a lot of things in the media and about like the UFC, fighter pay, all this. We don't need to get into all that bullshit. But what I want to illustrate is a situation like you, where you're a brand new Power Slap athlete. It's a brand new sport, but you walk in. If you get hurt in the match, the UFC basically spares no expense, and UFC and Power Slap, should I say, and they take like care of you from top to bottom, right? Is that what I'm like getting at with what you're saying?
Absolutely. And even, before any sort of injury had occurred for myself or anybody else that I knew of, the medical testing that they did, precautionary testing before any of us competed, again, above and beyond. The one gentleman who was, I believe, a super heavyweight, when he went and got the scans of his head, they found a tumor that he was unaware of. So, that's one of those things where, had he not signed up for such an extravagant organization and promotion, to have them do that, he might not have ever known that. You would have gone to any of these places that, if you go do this in the bar where it started, and it's the same as for MMA, where people were fighting in homemade cages in backyards outside of strip clubs and gas stations, you wouldn't know any of those issues occurred. So again, even from the very get-go, they went above and beyond medically precaution wise to make sure that we were all fit to compete.
That's awesome. That's why I love the UFC and the organization. You know, they get a lot of bad reps. People just love to bitch, about Dana and everybody else. But the behind the scenes stuff. Now, what event was that athlete from Power Slap found that tumor? Was that Power Slap 3?
Um, I honestly, I couldn't tell you. I just know that it happened in the mix. It could have even been, I can't remember if it was the qualifiers at the very beginning or the first event when they were bringing some new faces in. But I think it was one. Actually, it might have even been when we were getting into the house for the show that was on TBS. I can't really pinpoint, but I do know that that was the topic that was brought up. And I believe Dana stated it at one point in time. And if not, I know for a fact that it came from one of the higher up brass's mouths directly to my ears. So.
Yeah, that's crazy because the thing is my first Power Slap event. I'm from Western New York, so obviously I know the boys from Western New York: Cole Young, Dwayne Crespo, Nate Bernard, who I'm talking to tomorrow. And when you were coaching at Power Slap 3, I was in attendance. Obviously, you were coaching the enemy with Cole Young.
Yes.
And I actually want to talk to you about that match too. But at UFC 290, it was during the big international fight week. And the funny thing that you say that is because a guy that was going to be a short notice replacement fighter to fight, I think it might have been Bo Nickel. They actually found something that was life threatening as well into him, which is the craziest thing, that these scans, they go above and beyond with this testing. So you're going in this world-class organization, and this shit's not cheap by any means.
No.
And people are like, well, the UFC makes all this money, hands over fist, blah, blah, blah. But now guys like you, that whole treatment process, just shooting off the top of my head, could have been 100 grand.
Oh, easily. I know just from the beginning, again, the qualifiers, they were dropping anywhere from 5 to 10 grand on medicals per person. So, at least that's the understanding that I believe that I, overheard in the midst of everyone talking, because you got to think there was supposed to have been 100 us at the qualifiers at the very beginning when this was all, NDA hush hush still. But there may not even a quarter of us ended up showing up out there. So they had all of this stuff lined up and ready to go. And, again, went above and beyond for all of us that were there from the beginning and everyone who's come in since, to make sure that you're seeing the best doctors they have in Vegas. They're, they check on you. We'll talk about post-match. You get through your match and you're all right. They check on you before you leave Vegas. They text, email, call, whichever it may be. At least me personally, once you're home, to see if you're how you're doing, if something has come up in between that time, because they if they want to get you taken care of, but it's on you as the person to reach out and let them know, hey, I have an issue here, or this may need looked at, or I have a concern about this, and they will gladly do it for you. So if anyone has otherwise to say or has a different scenario, that's on them for not taking the proper action.
Yeah, absolutely. And an interesting point that you said is, so you guys were going to tryouts and like less than half the people showed up that were supposed to be there. So they kind of just ghosted Power Slap in the UFC.
At the very beginning, yeah. I don't know how many people were like, again, this is when it's all NDA, hush, hush. We weren't really able to say what we were doing. It wasn't really verified that it was through UFC and Dana White until we were down there. Some of us knew beforehand, some of them probably not. But I know, like Dana said the other day, the level of athletes that are coming in now compared to what we started with, because there was not nearly as many professional athletes or professionals in general at the beginning. You probably had the handful that were just out there for a check, the handful that were out there trying to catch fame or whatever, whatever their motivation was. That wasn't, that's probably why they're not here or really being talked about or in the spotlight anymore. And again, the level of competitor that we're getting, or that some of us have grown into, or some of us have been able to show that we are, is on another level.
Yeah, I see the U.S. Marine Corps sign in the back. Did you serve in our military?
Yes, sir. 2012. Unfortunately, I had honorable medical discharge. I got hurt while I was down on Paris Island, but I signed the contract, and until I'm no longer on this earth, any enemy, foreign or domestic, is going to have a problem with me.
I love it. Well, I appreciate your service. I wish my girlfriend's son, he's actually going to boot camp October 25th for the U.S. Navy. So, I definitely want to give a shout out to both of you guys for your service. And
Thank you, and best of luck to him.
yeah, I'm sure he'll be stoked. He actually wants to see you guys at the Power Slap because it was wild. I was only able to get one ticket when I was there for Power Slap 3. So, it was a great event. So what are your expectations for your rematch on October 25th at Power Slap 5, live and free on Rumble?
I just want to win. I want to retain that belt. No one else has been able to hold it or defend it and or hold it because of certain circumstances or how their matches went. And that's not me taking a dig at anybody. That's just the reality of the situation. I'm just, again, wound up being the one who was able to retain the title, through the fiery pits of hell that match was. And this match coming up, I know, Azael has a fire lit under him. I'm his only loss. It was by far one of the cleanest KOs that Power Slap has had, and definitely a remarkable viral moment. So he has every reason not to hate me, but to hate the thing that happened to him and to want to take me out. But I have the experience now of going a full 5 rounds. I've gone up there and dealt with the most heinous situation that, anybody else gets hurt for the most part. They don't keep going. We've seen other people have issues in the past from the house on through the show. And when they get injured, they really kind of, what do I do? What do I do? Well, I knew right then and there, I have another hand. I'll throw this one, whether it was out. You would have to shoot me in my kneecaps and cut both of my arms off to stop me at this point.
I love it. So let me ask you, is that an element of surprise since you dealt with this issue? Let's go this way. So you've been training both hands now. Could you surprise your opponent? And if this is like technique or match secrets or game plan, don't comment on it. I'm not looking for that. But could you slap with, like, come out and maybe surprise your opponent and be a lefty? Or a normal righty, or in the match, could you switch between hands?
Absolutely. That's the advantage, like I said earlier, that a lot of guys told me that had they gone up there, again, I was frustrated with the match and definitely frustrated. I wasn't getting the outcome I wanted with my shots that I was taking.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a different story now. I've been working at it, like we were just saying, and I absolutely could do either. I would not that I would prefer one over the other. I just started off as a righty, so I've had more time up there at the podium throwing the right compared to the left. But I part of me wants to be that kind of person that's like, you were all sleeping on my left, because if any of you had to fight through a dislocated shoulder and the pain that I was dealing with and the frustration I had, you wouldn't have been landing clean shots either, or hard shots, because they were clean. I was able to not get a foul. And that's the biggest thing in all reality, is that it came down to the fact I could land clean shots and be able to continue on, because had I fouled out with my left hand, then it wouldn't even be a thought or a possibility. But I'm one of the few that's able to go up there, throw either hand. And especially now, since I've really been honing in on it and focusing, I have full confidence in both.
Yeah. Are you a natural righty, or are you kind of ambidextrous where you do both things? Good, athletic movements or high functioning movements with both sides of your brain, so you can either go left or right.
Yeah, I'm absolutely ambidextrous. By the time I was 18, I taught myself how to write with my left hand. I'm comfortable in southpaw fighting position. It's not uncommon if I'm doing some Muay Thai at the gym that I train out. Shout out to Next Level. It's not uncommon for me to switch stances in between to just kind of, it's more comfortable for me. Even when I was a little kid, I remember my dad even saying, like, why are you standing that way? You need to be the other way. Well, they didn't realize that I very well could have been left-handed when I was a little kid, but my parents were right-handed. So we never really had the option until I tried doing it on my own. I write chicken scratch with both hands, but they're both just as legible.
Yeah, it's crazy because obviously I coach CrossFit, and I'm ambidextrous. I'm more left side functioning than right side. But the crazy thing is I throw a baseball right-handed, but I throw a football left. So that's kind of why I'm interested in your story, hearing like how you're able to do that. Now, have you done MMA? Have you taken like amateur or pro fights or no?
I've done one amateur jiu-jitsu match,
Okay.
and it was I lost by points or however that worked out because it was sub only. But no, I was in the process of that was the whole thing of how I found power slap. So I guess this kind of opens
Yeah.
that door for you.
Yeah.
The same as how everybody has the fight forums on Facebook, looking for a fight in whatever state in the local area. I was checking out the amateur MMA scene, and really, that was my plan and goal from the beginning, and how I wound up at the gym that I'm at. Luckily, it's close and it's a great gym to be at. It's a smaller one, and I really love the people in there, and they've supported me from the beginning of this, and into the career that I have now. But I was in the process of looking to do amateur MMA in the hopes of, by the time I'm 40, maybe get looked at for a UFC fight, get called up and be, the lucky guy that gets beat up by Bo Nickel or something like that. But I found a different pathway by luck, since they had posted one of those forums looking for, looking for a fight. They were looking for people to come and do this new slap fighting organization. And, amidst a bunch of craziness of life that I had really had to deal with a bunch of stuff throughout that time period, when I came to my wife and was like, hey, I think I want to do this. There's money involved. Why would I not give it a shot? And she, I sat down with her and all of my kids, except for the newest one that we just brought home the other week because he wasn't here yet.
Well,
But
congratulations, brother.
thank you very much. Thank you.
Hopefully the kid looks like the mother and not you.
Yep. Yeah. Right. It's got his brother's blue eyes instead of my dirty browns. But once I talked to all of them about, I want to go do this and try this, they backed me 110%. So from that point on, the spot I'm sitting in now is the home gym I have in my garage. This is where I started training for power slap by myself, watching the videos, the same ones that Dana watched that sparked his interest, is how I was learning about it. And now, I went from being a heavyweight that they probably really didn't consider much of, a competition for anybody at the very beginning, because I was such an unknown. I didn't really have any sort of social media presence. I didn't have any, past MMA fights or any sort of fame that they were looking for to boost people. I've really had to grind my way to where I'm at now, from a 220-pound heavyweight down to the middleweight champ.
Yeah, that's a hell of a story. So you coach at your MMA gym, or do you just work out there because it's a great workout?
I know. I just work out there because it's a great workout. It was where I started training jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai with the coaches that are there, and whenever I can make it in anymore is when I go in, especially because of dealing with the injury. I have to pull back on myself to make sure I don't injure myself, because, as a competitor, I get in there and I want to push and I want to test myself, especially with the guys who are fighting, and I want to help them train so that way they can get better. And all of our, steel sharpens steel. So that's definitely the mentality in there. But, the little things that they pick up, or little things that they teach, I'm able to bring home and practice at home when I am able to do it, and really, have that in my back pocket for if the opportunity ever arises for me to get that chance. I definitely have a good base. I was by no means an outstanding wrestler or anything in high school, but I have that background also. So the grappling aspect and the wherewithal of knowing how to move your body in this stuff, I'd say, has played a pretty good hand in giving me the advantage for a lot of people, at least at the level that I would have to start out at if I were to do MMA.
Yeah. Did you play any other sports in high school?
Yeah, I played football and wrestled all through high school and junior high, and then I ran track my senior year, which I probably was better at it than I was the other two. So I wish I would have done it a little bit sooner, but I was too busy being wild and out of control, and the sports really is what kept me through school, because I could have just as easily as a lot of people gotten lost and dropped out, and really fit the bill for all of the people that doubted me then, and not I wasted my athletic opportunities back then. So that's why I really cherish the ones that I'm given now.
Amen, brother. Amen. I'm the same exact way. Talk to me. What's a training regimen without, if you have some secrets, obviously what you do training wise, don't get into those. But like, what's a day, like what's a training week look like for you?
I kind of try and break it up anymore, especially with bringing the new baby home. It's been a little hectic lately. I was able to actually, Ryan Phillips came over this weekend. Him and I did a few workouts together, just talked about a few things and shared stuff that we've both learned from our PT that, is good functional strength and really help tighten everything down for our upcoming matches. But me normally I would like to run 4 miles, so that way I can see how fast of a time I can get on that. I think the fastest I've gotten in recent times, like 34 minutes and change.
Mm-hmm.
So I got the heavy bag out here that I'll do a little mixing up with my jiu-jitsu dummy, so that way I can still roll around and get loose with it. But definitely functional strength stuff at this point, and really the finding functional strength workouts that correlate to the movements we're doing. So I like to do, not so much lately, but in the very beginning, I like to do a lot of deadlift because it helps you keep your feet planted. You're not moving your feet around in there. You're doing a lot of stuff that have the side to side motion that you're really working your core with, because as a lot of us dip down as far as we can go to get as much force and velocity for the impact into our arm, so that way you're using your whole core to really push through and get all the power to hopefully knock your opponent out.
Yeah, so you're talking in my world. So I've been doing CrossFit coaching and having gyms for like the last 15, 16 years here. So, things like the deadlift, things like the thruster, the back squat, that type of functional strength, clean and jerk, snatch, those are all movements. That's actually really, really good. I want to talk to you. What does the missus think of you doing this? Like what's her opinion on the whole thing?
um she's known I was crazy since we got together, so I guess that wasn't much of a surprise to her. The things that we've been able to do because of it, I guess, are really astonishing, because her and I both, come from not much at all. So the opportunity I've been given to give my family any sort of experience in life out of it. We've been able to take the family out to do more. We've been able to afford, not that we needed nicer things, but we have the luxuries that we didn't ever think we were going to be able to have. So that's probably the biggest factor. She knows that I'm very competitive, so every so often she'll jokingly say something, but also I know there's a little bit of motivation behind it, because there's times where, like a lot of people know, the motivation's not always there. So if I'm having a rough day, or if I seem like I'm, going to fall asleep on the couch after I got home from work and I'm just kind of hanging out being lackadaisical, she'll tell me to go work out. She'll tell me to go to the gym. She'll tell me to hit the sauna, go on a run, take the kids out here in the garage and roll around with them. Do something,
Yeah.
because she's very aware of the fact that if I'm not doing anything, that's worse for not just my physical, but my mental health also, because that definitely plays a factor in a lot of this.
Yeah. Just real quick, what do you do for work full time?
Right now, I'm a machine operator / maintenance. I was a welder when I first started this, but I found a company that was willing to work with my schedule pretty much at the drop of a dime. You know, it's our system. As soon as I find out when I'm going or what I have going on, again, the baby situation we had that I knew was upcoming, they were like, yeah, just let us know when you're going to be gone, how long you're going to be gone for. Your job's going to be here when you get back. You don't have any sort of question from us. They really, you know, they gave me again the opportunity compared to where I was at. That not that they, I don't know, I told them about it, but also they very much were like, I wish you would have told us more. And I'm like, well, it's the biggest thing happening on social media right now, so I don't know how much more you guys really expected me to tell you, but it is what it is. If I want to go be a welder again, I'm sure I could find somewhere that would give me the same opportunities, but at this point I'm happy where I'm at. And you know, it's a company that actually, I worked 2 jobs to be able to buy the house that we live in now before Power Slap was even in the ether. So after, you know, busting my grapes for 6 months and basically almost killing myself, you know, they were, again, just me mentioning the fact that they were the second job I was working in a promo video. They were like, yeah, dude, that's awesome. Thank you. Like, I didn't say a name or anything like that. And they were, you know, excited that I even brought it up. So again, they, you know, willing to work with my schedule and give me the opportunity to live this wild and crazy endeavor that I have going on top of, you know, understanding that I am a family man and there are other things that in the midst of the day I might have to up and take off to go take care of, and they really have no issue with any of that.
Yeah. And are they fans of the sport now?
Absolutely. You know,
Definitely. They got the
Oh
champ.
yeah. Exactly. You know, it's definitely not that they needed a bargaining chip, but it's always convenient when there's a customer coming by or something along those lines of someone new. It's an easy topic to bring up, especially when I'm standing there and they're like, wait a minute. They go from they're looking at their phone going, that's you? And I go, yeah, that's me, as I'm working and doing my thing. So it's pretty neat. And it's another way to make connections. You know, they've also, my boss gives me an opportunity to sit down with him whenever I need to, you know, if I need help with social media stuff, just like the sponsors that I have, they've all helped me, you know. I don't know this technology stuff. I was so out of date with any of it that even for, you know, my age, that it was moderately embarrassing. So they definitely give me pointers on stuff if I need it and are willing, again, to help me in any way, shape, or form that they can.
Yeah, or you know, if you got a broken YouTube link on your Instagram page, you get some guy to help you out, right?
Yeah, right. Get me to put it in the right spot. So I appreciate that again very much,
Yeah,
because I was like,
got
"What are you talking about?"
I got you, bro. And what we're talking about is I was trying to get some plugs for, you know, John's social media platform so you guys can check more on him out. And it was John the Machine Davis on YouTube. So I was going to ask you this towards the end, but I'm going to ask it to you now. So your wife actually gets the fringe benefits of going out, I'm assuming, to Las Vegas with you when you're competing. Am I right with that?
No, they haven't been able to go out there with me yet. My kids are all still young. My oldest is 10. So now we're at 10, 6, 3, and, you know, 2 weeks, but on Thursday. So, and getting any of them on a plane or that long of a car ride would really be a hassle, and they're not so much comfortable with that, you know, until I would love to get an RV. That would be my ideal thing. So that way, when they call and I'm going to whatever spot, we could all just pile in that. And then it's a comfortable home setting for them, because no one wants to be crammed in the car. I don't want my kids to suffer through, you know, however many hour drive. And then of course you're going to be dealing with car sickness and all of that fun stuff. So, you know, as unfortunate as it is, the fruits of my labor so far have been able to benefit us to go and have more adventures around home than we would have been able to in the past.
Hey, that's not a bad thing at all. How old are you?
31. I'll be 32 in August.
And you got 4 kids, my man, putting in the time. That a boy. That a boy.
Someone's got to make the world a better place, and it's my wife, because she's the angel while I'm out here holding the halo up with my horns, brother.
Yeah, you know, I wanted to, you know, mention to you, you know, when you were saying that, you know, she makes you, when you're on the couch being lazy and whatnot, she calls you out on it. You know, they always say behind every strong man there's an equally or stronger woman behind them. So, that's in my case. I have a girlfriend like that. Sounds like your wife is dead nuts on that. So, I'm definitely into that as well. Is there anybody in Power Slap that you see, after this match, who do you see as the next contender after you have a successful title defense?
It kind of depends. Through the rumor mill, around the water cooler, however you want to phrase it, it
Sure.
depends on what middleweight gets another win next. I know some guys are making a return from injury that they had to deal with in the past. So what's going to be one of those things as to who falls where in the rankings afterwards, because they could put me up against a new number one, or they could leave, if I'm able to walk away with the belt again and Azael stays at number one, they might move, whoever around in the top five, because the depth of all of these weight classes really isn't that far at this point, especially from them bringing all of the newer folks in, the OGs of us that have been in this since the beginning really have the upper hand. We've been learning with them on the fly, so we know when rule changes happen in the midst, we're all pretty able to kind of decipher what needs to happen and what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But as to who could be next for a title shot per se, I come away with the victory yet again. I honestly couldn't tell you. I really don't know. But all comers are welcome. I've told everyone before a million times. I don't care what weight you're at. You've indirectly called for my belt, I will take you out, because it is what it is.
For sure.
When you
Hey, I'm getting a little feedback. Is that better?
Yeah.
There we go. That works. Are you still with me?
No, of course not.
Is that any better?
How about now?
It's not bad. Can you hear me?
It's just a little bit laggy still.
It's probably because you're on the middle of
It's
Podunk,
just
Ohio.
a little bit behind.
It's a little bit behind. Is that working for you?
Right.
Sorry for the brief delay. The high school kids thought it'd be funny to prank John and get on his internet and get all robotic and static. So I apologize on my end for that connection issue. So you go out to Vegas a lot. Do you have any favorite spots in Vegas you like to go eat or visit when you're out there?
I'd say the one I frequent the most is In-N-Out Burger, because we don't have that around here. So that was probably one of the things I like to treat myself to, because it's usually rather close.
Okay.
But just the experience in general, because I don't gamble, so it's not like I'm really going into the casinos and doing any of that. Finding new places to eat, and if the one place was an anime noodle place, so my kids wanted me to go there and take pictures of the anime stuff and send that home to them. So anything, they always tell me to go find the Mr. Beast burger, but I haven't made that adventure yet. Maybe the next time I'm down there I will.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did see you at the Aria, which is my favorite hotel. I know Circa Hotel in Old Vegas takes care of you Power Slap boys really, really well. I was able to see the hotel room and where you guys stay when I talked to Robert Trujillo on another interview prior. So that's really cool. Going back to Power Slap, is there any guy that you would like to see next when you win on October 25th? Is there anybody out there that you want personally? It's your time to call them.
No, that's my thing. I haven't really had anybody to call out. I welcome all comers. preferably not anyone I've already fought is my biggest thing. I would like to fight somebody new, but that's the name of this game, to where as the champion, you're going to get fed whoever's the next in line. And if they've earned it, they've earned it. And that's the choices that the brass are going to make. I just keep knocking them down for them.
That's a champion's mindset, obviously. How's it been working with, Dana White, Power Slap, Erica, who's the matchmaker over at Power Slap, and the president of Power Slap? How's that whole experience been for you?
It's great. They're like family. Whenever you see Dana, it's handshakes and hugs. He'll message you back and send you an emoji on Instagram. They did me a big solid in making sure I got home in time for my wife to have the baby. And when we did the promo down there, it was pretty much a mini baby shower. They had a cool thing set up that said, "Here comes baby machine" on the screens, and some of those little mini bunt cakes. So it was, again, it's like family for sure down there. And it's always a crazy experience because people, they want to make all these assumptions of Dana and act like he's this high and mighty on his high horse. And he's a dude like us. He's just out there grinding, trying to get it.
Yeah. And you can't disrespect that at all. He's been in a grind. I've been a fan of the UFC for a long time, and I think the reason I'm into the Power Slap thing is the least I can do is support him and the athletes and the things that he's doing. And I think it's captivating. Obviously, I was at Power Slap 3 when you were coaching. And seeing it live versus on Rumble, it's a different animal. Like, we talked, when it comes live and it can become more to the general public, I think you're going to have more fans coming in. Hopefully, there's been talk that the UFC is trying to get into the sphere. There's rumors on the street that Power Slap could be up first in the sphere, where the general public can be there and seeing the sport. I think the live event is absolutely crazy.
Yes, the public wants in. They've been wanting in since the second event. I've seen all sorts of messages of people. How do we get tickets? When are we able to be there live? When are they going to bring it to the public? I can't answer any of those questions. I just hope that in the time that I'm here and in this organization, that I'm able to have a full crowd, a full stadium, wherever they deem necessary to fill, and I get to compete for those people.
Yeah, I mean, there's a strong rumor that Power Slap could be in the sphere. What would that be a card that you would want to be on?
Absolutely, I would 110% love to compete in there, especially if we were the first ones to get in there before the UFC. Ladies and gents, that would be absolutely epic.
Yeah, no, I love it. And real quick, because we're having a little bit of connection issues. It's not bad. During when you were coaching, Cole Young was fighting Muniz, and I'm new to Power Slap, so you have to educate me. Ryan has to educate me a little bit. So it looked like once Cole measured, Emmanuel's chin was dropping. Was that a foul? And if it was, why wasn't it called?
That's one of those things where the learning curve is the best thing I can point to. I couldn't see from my standpoint any of that because you're down below the deck. Yeah, and I'm behind him, so none of that I can see. I'm only able to see what's on the replay, and when I go up to my fighter and I'm cleaning their face off at what damage is there. So, and as for the calls, it's the same as MMA. I can say is every ref has different calls. Every ref has, whether it's questionable to some and not to others. Unfortunately, the name of this game, as I always say, is controversy. So, things are going to be controversial, especially in these beginning stages that we all have to battle through. And as unfair as it seems to some, a lot of us have had to deal with it, and pretty much almost everybody. And that's why they reach out to, some of us fighters and with the rule set stuff. And they really, they talk to us in the rules meetings. So that way, like I said, when there is a rule change, or if they are identifying something like you're saying, the movement of that, which once you're lined up, to my understanding, you're not supposed to move. But there was also a bit of misunderstanding, I think, of people when, once you were set to be the recipient, they were supposed to kind of let you know that you were good where you were at, but also I don't think anyone's supposed to be moving either. Again, I can see how that was a controversial moment. If you were there, you obviously heard some of us may or may not have been bantering back and forth about the situations, but
well, I can be honest with you, I was next to Haas Coates. So I was right next to
so yes, you heard the exact conversation I'm talking about.
So yeah, I was there. I was there. I just want to touch, and I'm not looking to, get clips. I'm none of that. But and then the other issue is Cole's, Cole has his fouls, right? And obviously I'm talking about Cole because I know Cole. I'm invested in his story. He's a local guy. But Cole also with Jules Scott, when you drop your chin and you measure, you change the trajectory when your chin drops. But then Jules Scott, he raised up, he hides his neck. Is that not a foul too?
I can tell you that you're not supposed to be, again, once you're set, you're supposed to be set in place, and you're not supposed to be scrunching or moving around.
Yeah.
And not, like you said, I'm not particularly that fight because I wasn't there for that one, but it's in the set, in the rule set, that your shoulders and traps, and if you have giant traps, that's one thing, you can only do so much about that. But again, the stance that people are in and that they're holding is supposed to be to the letter of the rule set. So
yeah,
on that one.
Yeah, and I totally get that. Would that be like maybe do like a precursor or pre-match meeting with the referees? If certain athletes, when you're watching film and stuff, hey, this guy does this. Would the solution currently, because obviously I get it's a new sport, but would the solution be to let the refs know ahead of time to be on the lookout for that?
Yes, and they actually do that on their own, because in the rules meeting, not only as a competitor, but in the position I was at for coach, if they see something and because they go through and they watch all of our fights. I mean, they break it down to a T, and that's how they're helping improve the rule set and let us all know, if someone is continuously stepping, because I know it's our biggest issue for people.
Yeah, I see
that they, as in the coaching position, they'll say, hey, you're this guy's coach. You need to let him know that he needs to stop moving his foot. You need to tell him that he needs to move his hand in the proper way. Or like you said, they're moving the flinching violations that a lot of us have had called on us, because there's such that small window between it being a flinch and it not being a flinch. Correct. Because again, it's the same as how the heel lift is allowed to happen, but it has to be on contact. And again, it comes down to it being broken down and watched in the instant replay, which they have gotten better at every single show. And again, like you said, in those meetings, we're able to break down, and if someone is having repeated issues, they will bring it to either their attention in person and in their own kind of way, in their own personal meeting, or if, at least in my experience as a coach, they'll let you know if someone's having an issue or if they're notorious for something, and have you be aware to let your fighter know what's going on from the coaching position.
Yeah, I love it. And then what are you allowed to lift your heel at all? Is there any like wiggle room there, or is it supposed to be flat foot? That's it. Just like you're doing a back squat where you're supposed to drive through the middle part of your foot and then come up. Is that right, or is there a little bit of heel lift allowed?
There's a small amount of heel lift allowed now because of momentum.
Sure.
And again, it's supposed to be on contact because of follow through.
Mm-hmm.
It's the pivot. The pivot is not acceptable in any way, shape, or form, from my understanding, because at that point is when you're taking the palm strike, the slap, whatever you want to call it, and you're turning it into an open hand hook or what, whatever it may be at that point.
Gotcha. Absolutely. And so obviously, you have your title defense October 25th, Wednesday, on live and free on Rumble at 9 p.m. Prior to your fight on the weekend on Saturday, October 21st, there's a massive pay-per-view card in Abu Dhabi, in another rematch between Islam Makhachev and Charles Oliveira. Who do you got in that fight, and how?
And this one, I'm gonna say Oliveira,
Okay.
because every man has been counted out. He's come back and proven otherwise. So, and it's not that I have anything against Islam or any of those guys that, do that specific style of fighting, because I like grappling. I enjoy it. If you're able to do it,
Yep.
it's your job to have someone, if you can't stop them from holding you down and mauling you, that's on you.
Yeah.
But Oliveira has shocked us several times before, and I really think this time is going to be the same thing.
Awesome. And then obviously you have Khamzat Chimaev versus Paul Acosta. I know your good friend Ryan Phillips, the King, they call him, is a friend of Kevin Holland's as well. Who do you got in that fight?
I'm gonna say Khamzat again. As long as he doesn't go in there and do what he did against Gilbert Burns, where he kind of threw the game plan out the window and just went swinging for the fences, I feel like, even though Secret Juice is a well-rounded fighter, I still think that Khamzat's just a different animal at that point, and is going to use him as a stepping stone towards the belt at this point.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Have you been able to go to a live UFC event since you've been in powerslap, or have you been to UFC events that maybe been in Ohio or anything like that in the past?
The only one I've been to actually was the one where it was for the vacant 205 title. That was a draw between Blachowicz and
and Ankalaev.
I can't think.
Ankalaev.
Yes.
I was there.
Say we were actually in the house shooting the Power Slap TV show, and that was the treat that all of us received, was being taken out to that fight. And that was the first UFC event I've ever been to, and only UFC event I've been to.
That's wild. Who do you think won the Paddy Pimblett Jared Gordon fight? You think Jared Gordon got it, or do you think Paddy did enough to win?
Man, again, when it comes to the judges and them having to make those decisions,
yeah,
I can't argue with them because it's their job. But at the same time, the majority of folks out here really don't think Paddy won that one. And as much of a fan as I was, I don't think that he got that one either. And now he's really, I just had shout out to Matt Steamroller Favela. I just did my podcast with him yesterday. So I'll be posting that by the end of the week. He was trying to get that Paddy Pimblett fight, and it just never came to fruition for him yet. And now Paddy's on to fighting Tony Ferguson, which is kind of here nor there in my thoughts, because it's nothing against Mr. Ferguson, because he's an OG in the game and absolutely one of the best at his peak performance. But I feel like unless Paddy goes in there and knocks him out or submits him, if it goes to a decision, who do you think the judges are probably going to lean towards? Patty Pimblett.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it's funny that you mentioned Matt Frivola because selfishly, I actually ran into him at Power Slap 3, but he's actually going to be on the card that we're going to because our very own Western New York GOAT is defending his newly won heavyweight title. So Matt is on the card for Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic, which that fight was, I think, announced last week that Matt got. So that's exciting, and that's me being very selfish. So we get to see Steamroller, and he's a big underdog, but he's ready to shock the world again.
Wait till the episode drops, because that's one of the main topics of conversation that we have about him going out there as the underdog, which he's been several times. And again, I got to meet him at Power Slap 3. I've watched his career, for some time before I got to meet him. So that's why I was lucky enough, and he was generous enough to hop on and, shoot my podcast with me. So it was a great connection.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure you tag me in that, because anything I can do to share with that stuff, I'd like to hear it and hear what his insight is. I mean, honestly, looking at his last 3 fights, kind of getting off the power slap topic, but going into MMA, he's fought his last 2. I mean, everybody's a dog that steps into the cage, I'll be honest with you, but his last 2 fights, the Bonifim boys and Thiago Moses, they're no jokes either. Benoit Saint Denis is no joke as well. So and the crowd's going to be electric for him. I can't wait for that fight. As well. It's actually funny, like right before your fight, obviously they'll be promoting that, but it's actually all like Russians versus Brazilians. I don't know if they meant to do that, but it's like the main card is 5 Brazilians versus 5 Russians, which is the craziest thing.
Oh, wow. I didn't even realize that until you said it.
Yeah, it's funny because they were talking about it today, because there was a fighter had dropped off because Warley Imav came out and Wally Alvarez came in to fight somebody. But you have, the top 2 that we talked about. You have obviously Johnny Walker versus Ankalaev, who you saw fight at UFC 282. And then there's this new guy coming out, Magomedov, I guess, and he's fighting Bruno Silva. I think Bruno Silva fought Alex Pereira. I'm pretty sure in like one of his debut fights. So that's exciting. So, but talk to me before I let you go. Obviously, we talked at the open about what sponsors do, and fans of the sport should patronize all the sponsors, kind of give back, so they help. Somebody like you have somebody like Boot Life who provides a source of income, so you can provide a better life for you and your family and your little ones. What has like Boot Life done for you?
They were gracious enough to make the connection. They had seen me weighing in my boots, and anybody else that as they say, live the boot life. I went up to the store with them and my oldest 2. We had a wonderful day. Obviously I talked business with them about what kind of collaborations we could do, what they could do to help me out, what I could do to help them. And they were gracious enough to take me and the kids. We had lunch. They have a wooden carousel up there that we were able to go on, so the kids could have a little bit of fun while we were out and about. But they were, definitely down family people that just, again, wanted to give me an opportunity and give me a chance to tell my story and really support, people who live the boot life. I've been a blue collar guy my entire life. Yep. Grew up on a farm in boots. I'll probably be in boots till the day I die, whether I get a fancy job wearing a suit commentating for the UFC and Power Slap one day or not. So it was, again, a great experience, a great collaboration, and them amongst a few other people that I made a connection with have been willing to sponsor me and, again, give me the help. I guess shout out to BK Construction and Excavating here in town. They help cover my protein drinks. Again, the Boot Boot Life, Built Bar. Actually, I'm a sponsored build athlete through them now. And Uncommon Nostalgia is a video game place that was right next to the Life that they help protein drinks, as I said, the construction place helped cover my protein bars for this upcoming fight camp. So shout out to all of them for helping me out. It was, again, a pleasure and an honor to have that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a big proponent of, athletes that I like or athletes that I talk to, I try to, patronize those businesses because obviously they're doing something for me. You athletes are going out there and performing and entertaining me. Least I can do is go to those sponsors. So it's kind of like a full circle thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, if it wasn't for them, they treated my children well. They treated me well. The Boot Life, really helped in a way of, again, down home family people that just genuinely cared and showed, what the community is supposed to be for people and about people, especially in this day and age where the country seems to be in mayhem everywhere. And life's not easy for everybody, especially the blue collar folks that are out there getting up, working ungodly hours and ungodly shifts, because I've done that already. And they're just backing me in this dream that I'm chasing to, hopefully not have to do that until I'm 70 to have retirement finally.
Yeah, amen to that. Well, John the Machine Davis, he's defending his 185-pound middleweight title October 25th out in Las Vegas at the UFC Apex. It's going to be live and free on Rumble Wednesday, October 25th, as I mentioned, at 9 p.m. It's in a rematch. But John, I truly appreciate the time. Tell your family. I truly appreciate them letting me take you away to talk to you, kind of rap about your story. You're a good dude. This is why I do this, obviously, to tell your story, because guys like you, I think once you get your story out like this, people become more invested in you as the athlete, you as the person as well. I truly appreciate the time. Okay.
Absolutely. Likewise, again, giving me the platform to tell my story and come out here and, really talk to you about stuff in depth is an honor and a privilege.
Absolutely. Sit tight. Okay, bud.